Almost every young guy asking, "What skill should I learn?" is picking from a menu that was current 5 years ago. Here are 12 skills that will actually be worth double what they are today by 2030. The boring ones, the surprising ones, and the two nobody in your feed is even talking about. Pick two. Start this week. For the next 10 minutes, I'll walk you through all 12 in 3 buckets. The hard skills that compound quietly, the soft skills that print money in the room, and the hybrid skills nobody has properly named yet, each one with a one-sentence version of how to start, and a final rule that decides whether you actually finish. First, the filter. Not every skill on every list belongs on this list. The ones that made it past 3 tests. 1. They cannot be automated cheaply by 2030. AI is going to eat about half of what a lot of guys currently do for money. These 12 are on the safe side of that line for reasons that will become obvious. 2. They compound. 90 days of practice makes you better than most. 3 years makes you better than almost anybody. Skills that plateau in 6 weeks don't compound. 3. They generate income directly or they protect it. Either you get paid more for having them, or you keep more of what you already earn. No pure hobby skills on this list. That's the filter. Let's start. Bucket 1. Hard skills that compound quietly. Skill 1. Writing that persuades. Not writing pretty. Writing to move somebody. An email that gets replied to. A short pitch that closes. A 1-paragraph explanation of what you do that makes the room lean in. Nobody teaches this in school. It quietly runs every job you'll ever have. How to start. Write 1 email a day that tries to move somebody. A day later, cut half the words. Skill 2. 1 programming language, deep enough to build a real thing. Not learn to code as a general life goal. 1 language. Deep enough that in 90 days, you build 1 thing that actually works. Matters that you have the proof. A working thing. That you can turn an idea into a running system by yourself. That proof is worth more in 6 years than 3 vague certificates. How to start? Pick the language, pick the project, start today. Skill 3. Financial literacy at the intermediate level. Not the beginner invest in index funds version, not the pro trader version. The middle one. You can read a company's basics. You understand what your money is doing. You know the tax rules where you live. You can spot a bad deal in the first 10 minutes. This quietly separates guys who compound from guys who don't. How to start? 1 boring finance topic a month. That's all. Skill 4, data analysis without a tool dependency. The ability to read a spreadsheet or a report or a set of numbers and think clearly about what's actually going on. Not master this specific software, the reasoning itself, because software changes every 3 years. Reasoning stays the same. Every white-collar job in the next decade will reward people who can do this without needing a specialist. How to start? Get a real spreadsheet from your work or life. Ask 3 questions of it nobody has asked. That's 4. Bucket 2. Soft skills that print money in the room. Skill 5. Negotiating salary and terms. Almost every young guy loses tens of thousands over a decade because he never learned to ask. It is not a personality trait. It is a skill with specific techniques you can practice. The 5 minutes it takes to ask for the higher number is the highest paid 5 minutes of your career. Every job, every raise, every project, how to start. The next time a number is offered, ask for a higher one. Skill 6. Running a good meeting. Sounds unglamorous. It's not. The guy who can walk into a room, get to the point, drive to a decision, and leave everybody clear on next steps. That is the guy who gets promoted faster than his skills alone would explain. It's a specific pattern. It can be learned in a month of deliberate practice. How to start. Any meeting you run, name the one decision the meeting needs to make. Say it in the first minute. Skill 7. Cold outreach that gets replied to. Sending a message to a stranger and getting a real response. This is the skill that opens doors you don't have keys to. Not spam. Specific, short, personal, and asking for something small that respects the person's time. Almost nobody young does this well because it feels weird. That's exactly why it works. How to start. Send one real cold message a week for a month, under 100 words each. Skill 8. Storytelling in short form. Not writing novels. Telling a small true thing in 60 seconds in a way that makes somebody remember it. This is the skill behind every good pitch, every good interview answer, every good introduction of yourself in a professional room. The internet rewards it. Every hiring decision quietly runs on it. How to start. Take one thing that happened this week. Tell it in 60 seconds, then cut it to 30. That's 8. If you're already noticing which 2 you'd pick, hold that thought. The last 4 are where it usually shifts. Bucket 3. Hybrid skills nobody has properly named yet. Skill 9. Prompting AI at a professional level and knowing when not to use it. Not use ChatGPT. That's table stakes. Getting the right output out of AI on hard problems by asking better, and having the judgment to know when the AI is subtly wrong. The second half is where the money is, because the guys who trust AI when they shouldn't are about to make expensive mistakes, and the guys who catch those mistakes will get paid to. How to start. Every AI answer you use this week, verify one specific claim in it manually. Skill 10. Teaching yourself anything from scratch. Using free public materials, no paid courses, no tutors, no hand-holding. The ability to pick a subject you know nothing about on a Tuesday and be intermediate at it 6 weeks later. This is the meta skill that unlocks all the others. Compound value of learning to learn is genuinely enormous over a decade. How to start. Pick something small this month you've never known anything about. Learn it entirely from free public materials. Skill 11. Designing your own information diet. Deciding on purpose what enters your head, which feeds you follow, which podcasts you play, which news you touch, and which you don't. Almost nobody your age does this. Everybody just lets the algorithm choose. The guy who curates his own inputs for a decade ends up thinking clearly on questions nobody else in his room can even pass. How to start. This weekend, cut half of what's on your feed. Replace it with things you chose. Skill 12. Running a small end-to-end operation without spending on tools. A newsletter, a side product, a service business with 3 clients. The specific skill of taking an idea and being personally responsible for every part of it. The marketing, the sales, the delivery, the money. Using free or nearly free tools, because the operational thinking you build this way is the same thinking that runs a real company later. How to start. Pick the smallest possible thing. Start it this week. Charge $1. 12. That's all of them. And here is the part that is going to feel wrong. So here's the callback. Pick 2. Not 12. 2. Almost every young guy who watches a list like this makes the same mistake. He picks a new one every quarter. He never gets deep on any. 6 years later, he's shallow at everything and paid for none of it. The guy who ends up double valuable in 6 years is the one who picked 2 of these 12, worked on them daily, and refused to switch to the shiny new option every time his feed suggested one. The list is not the video. The 2 and only 2 rule is the video. Everything else is decoration. 90 days from now, the guy who picked 2 and started this week has a real head start. 6 years from now, he's a different tier of professional entirely. Not smarter, not luckier, just the one who picked and kept picking. If this hit, subscribe. I make one of these a week. Practical stuff about how money actually works. No hype. No shortcuts.